Okay, as far as this last article, um, so you sent me, several things from this Mason Francois. Um, Honestly, I haven't really liked any of them yet. For me, it's so speculative that, okay, perhaps some of these things are true, but, you know, okay, when we talk about the Titans and the gods, Titans aren't the same as Nephilim whatsoever, and that's to me that's clear through the mythology because basically what we're seeing through the Titans is the relationship between Saturn and Sun. So Jupiter or Zeus, um, yeah, between Saturn and the other gods because okay, it's a bit different in the Greek stuff, but in the Aztec wrote, the sun dies and is replaced. According to their Fraternitas Saturni, they're basically like the OTO, their secret society in Germany. They're like the most actually Satanistic secret society. They may actually be the nicest secret society out there as well. Like they might actually be the good guys as far as I know. I don't know. Or maybe they're terrible. It's really hard to tell just because something, has satanistic appearances like doesn't mean anything really. Like the Ordo Templi Astartes, I've been looking into them lately. Not that I could, they're in California, but um and anyways, the Fraternitas Saturni believe that Saturn over time evolves until it becomes the next sun, and that this is representing the evolution of humanity. Is that correct? I don't know. According to the Vedic stuff, Saturn is actually the son of Sun. So Shanidev, the god of Saturn, is the son of Surya, god of the sun. I think a lot of this stuff is more complicated than that, but also Indra is considered the sun god in the Vedic stuff, which is before the Puranic stuff that I just mentioned, where Shani is son of Surya. That's written in Puranas, not Vedas, to my knowledge. Of course, there's a lot of Vedas. Maybe it's somewhere I don't know about. Um, so Titans, the Titans are the concept of the old Mycenaean gods. I think it's Mycenaea is the old Greek center of power, and it's also where the myth of Persephone and Hades comes from, which is the original mystery tradition. Persephone takes a bite out of the pomegranate, and this represents that. This is a little more of almost like a Clipothic initiation. So it's I want to call that biting into the pomegranate enlightenment, but it's more awareness. It's more like the fruit in the Garden of Eden, which the fruit in the Garden of Eden, being represented as an apple, is connected to Astarte, which is different, but you know. Um, but the Mycenaean culture, the main god was Cronus, and then the Athenian culture became more dominant, um, and then it was Zeus, and then the old gods were the quote unquote the Titans. There was some storytelling. I would say the Greek society pioneered, sort of the art of propaganda of using story um, to control the society for better or for worse. And I think the benefits of controlling society and telling people what to feel, what to believe, I think that that's a good thing because, if you have a cultural narrative, well, at least there's a narrative now, and we can look at it and know what it means, and then I can make my story and base it off the cultural story if I like it, and or I will base my story off the cultural story regardless, but this aggregation of stories is actually very powerful and empowering to the individuals within the society. So, but at the same time, it is propaganda and it is controlling people's minds. So this is the thing where now I think it's on us to make our own story. But yeah, the Titans is more like that. The Titans is about the story the Athenians told to sort of make their cultural identity. That's my guess part, but because the Nephilim would probably be more analogous to the giant children of Gaia. So later in the mythology, Gaia has a bunch of children, and they just go crazy and want to usurp the gods and try and make their own version of Mount Olympus. And the gods have to strike them down. That would probably be the analog to the Nephilim, not the Titans, because the Titans are the old gods. The Titans are like, you know, I would even compare the Titans to Goetia. So it's like it's the gods. Goetia is the gods the Jews threw out. Goetia is their garbage can, and a lot of the Goetic spirits are very angry because that they were thrown out, because some of them are really important anyways. Like, Astaroth is, Ishtar. Well, Astaroth and Astarte are both kind of aspects of Ishtar. I mean, Astarte is just simply Astarte, which is Ishtar. And then there's like Horus, which is Horus. I think the Titans are kind of similar in that way. Not that I don't think they really use the Titans in that way, but just I think maybe they were giving an account of why these Mycenaean gods are no longer. We're gonna change the gods. We're gonna change the names of the gods. We're gonna change the image of the gods, and then that changes the cultural narrative that gives them control. That's my guess. And this story is so cosmic and is more metaphorical, anyways. And some of this comes to us from Hesiod, and scholars don't really trust Hesiod. So there's a lot here to talk about. I think the Titans, it's really something that on the surface, like just at a glance, relating it to the Nephilim maybe feels like what's the word? Kind of like, oh yeah, but probably be more like the giants. I think I might have made the same reference to the Titans, just in the sense of like people saying that there used to be giants, but yeah, I'm not even sure at this point if Titans are supposed to be understood to be giants. Yeah, because like there's also things in this is another thing, is when you look into the old like Greek religions and Egyptian religions, like we get a front page view, but their view was much more complex, and between mystery schools their religious beliefs differed, just like today. Like I heard something recently that Zeus would ask Cronus for permission to do certain things because Cronus is the father. But how does that make sense if Cronus was killed? You know what I mean? I don't know. So yeah, there's just a lot of complication in this stuff. I think when it comes to like creation myth stuff, I think we kind of have to put that in like a different category than the other stuff. But yeah, back to the kind of this thing with this post, the DNA stuff. Yeah, I felt that there's something with DNA. That DNA is more important than I originally believed. That being said, I have to. For me, I think I'd rather know things that are more like actionable, or that I can go and investigate on the astral plane and actually see it. I think trusting some kind of like latent cosmic memory of myself for this stuff is. I just find that incredibly iffy. I don't. I mean, if you want to connect to the Titan signal within your 13th pillar and you find some great gains with that, let me know, and it says here the organic Titans were the home team, the 12D Earth Guardians who stood 30 feet. Yeah. What this might mean, I've wondered about this, if the Titans are like because most people seem to think that the old gods like were the right ones, and that like this is a theory that the gods we have now are like enemies, that they're basically planted, and this is incredibly complicated, I think. I feel like creators like this get downloads, and it's particular. Like the thing is with downloads, like when I experience downloads, the download fills me in on a dimension of something. Like one dimension is revealed to me, and then over successive times, I get a fuller picture, right? And you know, so it may be that the Titans represent old gods that were more like the genuine gods. I think though that the gods being changed for malicious gods and Nephilim coming down to Earth are two different. I think those are two different events. I think that, like I've told you this before, that the way that it's sort of been explained to me is that so many deviations have happened in the Earth experiment, and it's just deviation after deviation after deviation, and now it's kind of like, well, shit, what do we do now? You know, and so. You know, I think this is two deviations. I think it's tempting to conflate deviations together, though. But yeah, that's what I was told. So I'll give this one partial credit, I think. And I've been becoming. I will say, I have been getting more. What's the word? I've been getting more sympathetic towards this type of content. Partially because you seem to take it somewhat seriously, and you know, I don't know. At some point, I have to ask why are you taking it? Why are you taking it seriously? And at what point are we just, you know, at what point is something really verified? Because like I can see stuff on the astral plane and it's not airtight. You know what I mean? Like I still have a lot of questions and I'm blocked from seeing a lot of things. So, that being said, I do have a little bit of a concern for the New Age movement of just barfing out all these like fanciful systems. Like, you know, is Mason Francois gonna line up with things that Katesh says, that Debbie Solaris says, that, you know, that Inner Christos people say, you know. Also, I do want to be cautious about doing this thing of like, oh, well, let's find where they all kind of meet. Kind of having this idea of like, well, they're all on the right track, and if we play them off against each other, we'll know the truth. You know, I think that doesn't work for a couple of reasons. Like, for example, something can always be more complex, and then some key what's the word? Context. Some key context can then change it. So just taking different systems and I know you're not doing this. I'm just saying what my first thought is. This is my thought process when I see things like this. You know, so like if I were to take Inner Christos system, everything I know about Hinduism as a system, as I can interpret it all together, because I can look at Hinduism and get a pretty cohesive story. You know, and then if I take I don't know, the Christian conspiracy theory community, and I take, you know, and if I just find the middle ground between all these things, I've seen some people like to do it that way, but at the end of the day, that's just being a fancy agnostic. So that's another thing I kind of bulk against with different people that I see. Once again, that this part has nothing to do with you. This is a little bit my annoyance with the New Age movement and with, you know, or the neo-Gnostic movement, or, you know, whatever. You know, because there's a lot of uncertainty because people don't actually know anything, right? Yeah. But I do keep a lot of these things sort of in the back of my mind and think about where they could, you know, plug in. I do believe the world has an AI god. I don't know how old it is. The other thing is I've already gone so fringe compared to what I really intended to. because there's just so much more going on than I expected. So this is a few steps further than I would really go. But the other thing is, if I go too far without building it up comprehensively, then it's like I think my knowledge base as it is pretty good, and it makes me very credible to a large array of kinds of people. So I'm a little careful about that. But yeah, thank you for sharing. I'll keep this in mind and keep an eye out. The other thing is this. The one thing that's bugging me here is this guy looks like he's Inter Christos. Looks like he said something about Christic, or maybe maybe he just has his own whole thing and is using just the parlance of the New Age movement, of different parts of the New Age movement. As much as the Inter Christos people shit on the New Age movement, they are New Age, so yeah. Yeah, this is another thing too, is complexity, is that there has to be, for me, I feel that there needs to be a little bit of okay, I can have on my own lore, but as far as what I'm talking, in my own more comprehensive stuff, there has to be a little bit like more to it. And like the Inter Christo stuff is probably more powerful than like Bringers of the Dawn by Barbara Marciniak. So probably Ashiana Dean's stuff is more powerful than Marciniak's stuff, because Dean came after Marciniak, and perhaps without Marciniak, Dean would never have gotten started, because Barbara Marciniak is a huge deal in the New Age movement, or was. I think she's dead now, but probably. I mean, that was a while ago. But the Inter Christos movement, the Inter Christos information is really complicated, and the Barbara Marciniak stuff is way more simple. So that's another thing where, like, after a certain level of complication, it just becomes really hard to follow, and I think it also becomes incredibly hard to channel it consistently. Or then by trying to make it consistent, you actually are corrupting it. I think that happened a little bit with Ashiana Dean. I think Ashiana Dean made some blunders. I think also she's just on a different like cosmic team than me. I'm a Luciferian. She's Emerald Order. So there's that. Also, it makes sense that some of this information, this is the other thing I will say, this is one thing that comes to mind, is there has been over the ages a progression of more powerful information coming out. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Anyways, thanks.